Good morning, students. Myself, Dr. V.P. Kadam, Professor, Department of Botany, ATHM College, Nasik. Today, I am going to deliver a lecture on the subject plant physiology for MSc secondary students. And today's topic is mechanism of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the most important anabolic process on the earth by which green plants synthesize complex food material like carbohydrates by the simple substances like carbon dioxide and water, and some amount of oxygen evolved during this process at the time of formation of carbohydrate. That means plants are most important for the anabolic process on the world. Friends, for that plants require carbon dioxide, oxygen, and sunlight. Three things comes together to form a complex food material, that means various kinds of sugars and some amount of oxygen evolved. Now indirectly the plants gives food material as well as oxygen for our better growth. Synthesis of food materials by the green cells of plants in presence of sunlight with the help of carbon dioxide and water molecules. See the equation of photosynthesis. 6 CO2, that means carbon dioxide, 6 molecules combined with 6 molecules of water in presence of sunlight, it gives one molecule of glucose, C6H12O6, and 6 number of oxygen evolved during the process of photosynthesis. Now, photosynthesis requires the green pigments. It is also known as photosynthetic pigments. And the photosynthetic pigments are three various kinds. First is chlorophyll. Chlorophyll are of 10 types. Chlorophyll A, B, C, D, E, and bacteriochlorophyll A, B, C, D, E, and bacterioviridae. All chlorophyll molecules are soluble in water, and the major role of absorption of light done by the chlorophyll A and B. Number two photosynthetic pigment is known as carotenoids. Only the pigment carotenoid is insoluble in water, and they are soluble in organic solvents like chloroform, petroleum ether. Carotenoids are of two types. One is carotene and second one is xanthophyll. Carotenoids are of two colored, yellow and orange color pigments. It is also participated in the process of photosynthesis, but the main role of a carotenoid is to protect the chlorophyll molecules by photolysis of water. And the third photosynthetic pigment is known as phycobilin. It is also water soluble like chlorophyll. Phycobilins are of two types, phycoerythrin and phycocyanin. Phycoerythrins are present in red alga, that means algae, and phycocyanin is present in blue-green algae. All three pigments, chlorophyll, carotenoids, and phycobilins are participated in the process of photosynthesis. Now, the second requirement for photosynthesis is sunlight. Sun gives a number of rays of light, and it contained 10 raised to 6 to 10 raised to minus 12 wavelength of light. Now, see the picture of electromagnetic spectrum, and in very small amount, that means 10 raised to minus 4 to 10 raised to minus 5, a small beam is known as a visible light. Other lights are cosmic rays, gamma rays, X rays, ultraviolet rays, infrared rays, microwaves, and radio waves. All are not useful for the process of, but only 10 raised to minus 4 to 10 raised to minus 5 in between. Visible light is there, and the range of visible light is 380 to 760 or 780 nanometer of light. And 380 to 760 nanometer of light contained 7 color of light, and the lights are useful for the process of photosynthesis. That's why it is known as visible light. Only small amount of light useful for the process of photosynthesis. Now, during daytime, sunrise and the sunlight drop on the leaves. What happens? In leaves, number of chlorophyll molecules are there. The light drop on the chlorophyll molecules. That means the photon collides with the chlorophyll molecule and it is excited. During the time of light collide with chlorophyll molecules, it is known as ground state. And after collide, it electrons moves from outer orbit. It is known as excited singlet state. That means the one electrons out of two from the chlorophyll molecules, it moves, it is taking the solar energy and it moves towards the excited singlet state. Now, it is quite unstable. The life of this electron is very small, that means 10 raised to minus 12 second, and they release some amount of energy, and the excited electron drop down towards the ground state, and it is known as fluorescence. Now, after fluorescence, the electrons again drop towards the ground state, releases of some amount of, and finally it drops towards the ground state. It is known as phosphorescence. Now, the electron excited means taking a lot of solar energy and moves towards to releases of this energy, and it comes towards the ground state. This is the cyclic process at the time of sun is present. That means during daytime. Carbon dioxide is also required for photosynthesis. Now, the present percentage is 0.04 on the earth, but it may be increased due to the pollution caused by us. The atmospheric carbon dioxide enter into the plants through the open stomata. This is physiological process. During daytime, stomata are open, and during nighttime, stomata are closed. Now, two types of absorption of water. Fourth factor is water. It is required for photosynthesis. And now, two types of absorption of water from soil. One is active absorption, and second one is passive absorption. Active absorption means roots are actively involved in the process of absorption of water. Now, the root's first cell, its sap is naturally more concentrated than the soil water. And according to the rule of osmosis, what happens? The lower concentrated solution moves towards the higher concentration. That means low concentrated water solution moves towards the higher concentrated root first cell solution, and from soil to plants water start coming according to the rule of osmosis. It is known as active absorption of water. Second one is known as passive absorption. Passive absorption is completely depends on the rate of transpiration. If the rate of transpiration is more, naturally the absorption of water is more. During transpiration, what happens? The excess amount of water transpire in the form of vapors, and continuously absorption of water occurs by the plants from soil. See, this is the structure of leaf. The photosynthesis takes place in the mesophyll. The palisade layer contains most of the chloroplast and principal region in which photosynthesis get carried out. The airy spongy layer in the region of storage and gas exchange. In mesophyll cells, both stroma and grana portions are present, and actually in stroma and grana portion, actual process of photosynthesis occurs. See, this is the structure of chloroplast. Chloroplast is double layered, outer membrane and inner membrane, and in the inner membrane, the rounded plate-like structure is known as grana, where the actual light reaction occurs. That means during time, light is absorbed, and through cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylation, formation of ATP. That means photophosphorylation process of in the portion of grana, and in stroma portions, number of enzymes and coenzymes those are required for the process of formation of carbohydrates are present in the stroma section, and the dark reaction occurs in stroma. What happens in dark reaction? Formed ATPs during light reaction are utilized for the conversion of atmospheric CO carbohydrates. That means reduction of carbohydrates, sorry, carbon dioxide into carbohydrates occurs in the stroma portion of chloroplast. The complete process of photosynthesis is divided into two parts. One is light reaction and second one is dark reaction. Light reaction is also known as Hill's reactions, and dark reaction is known as Blackman's reactions. Light reaction occurs during daytime and dark reaction occurs during day and night time. That means the duration of dark reaction is 24 hours. That means the carbon dioxide is converted into carbohydrates, and formation of ATP occurs during daytime. That means in presence of sunlight. That means the duration of light reaction is 12 hours. In light reaction, through cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylation, formation of ATP. That means photophosphorylation process. Phosphorylation means formation of ATP, and photophosphorylation means formation of ATP with the help of or in presence of light. It is known as photophosphorylation. And in dark reaction, the formed ATP, cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylation are utilized for the conversion of atmospheric carbon dioxide which is entered through open stomata into the plants and it is reduced into carbohydrates. That means kinds of occurs during the process of dark reaction. That means complete mechanism of photosynthesis is divided into two parts. Light reaction, it is also known as light dependent reaction because light is required. And second process is known as dark reaction. It is also known as light independent reaction because there is no need of light for conversion of carbon dioxide to carbohydrate. That's why it is known as light independent reaction. Photosynthesis takes place in two sequential stages. First, light dependent phase or light dependent reaction. And in light dependent reaction, two things are most important. One, cyclic photophosphorylation, and second one is non-cyclic. Through both cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylation, what happens? Only the synthesis of ATP and NADH molecule during the daytime. And second process is known as light independent reaction, known as Blackman's reaction, dark reaction. And in dark reaction, what happens? The atmospheric CO2 converted into carbohydrates, and the conversion of carbohydrates occurs in three different ways. First, Kelvin cycle. Through Kelvin cycle, the atmospheric CO2 is converted into carbohydrates. It is also known as C3 plants because plants in which Kelvin cycle occurs, those plants are known as C3 plants. Why Kelvin cycle is known as cycle? Because first stable compound formed during this cycle is three carbon compound. It is known as 3-phosphoglyceric acid or 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde. That's why Kelvin cycle is known as three cycle. All three cycles, the motto is same. The CO2 is converted into carbohydrates, but the process are different. Kelvin cycle is known as C3 cycle. Second cycle is known as Hatch and Slack cycle. MD Hatch and CR Stack are the friends. They work on the Hatch and Slack cycle. First time they found the first stable compound, it is 4 carbon compound, something different than Kelvin cycle, and it is observed in sugarcane plants. That's why the cycle is known as. And the third cycle is known as crassulacean acid metabolism. Now, in this cycle, stomatas are this cycle. This cycle occurs in those plants. The stomatas are closed during daytime, and stomatas are open during nighttime because of availability of water is very less. The plants are found in dry deciduous. That's where the crassulacean acid metabolism and the water level is very low. So during daytime, they reduce the rate of transpiration. That's why stomatas are completely closed. And during nighttime, stomatas are open for exchange of gases. Now we are going to learn the mechanism of photosynthesis, and the first mechanism is light dependent phase. During daytime, the light dependent reaction occurs. Light dependent reaction which takes place in photosystem first and photosystem second. Two photosystems are required or it is present in the light reaction. Photosystem first, its reaction center is P700, and photosystem second, its reaction center is P680. Both the photosystem having the four different complexes. One is core complex, second one is light harvesting complex, third one is cytochrome B6 complex, and fourth one is ATPase complex. All four complexes are present in photosystem. and also photosynthesis. Second, the core complex contained 40 to 60 number of chlorophyll molecules, one reaction center, and electron donor and acceptance is present in the core complex. Core complex is pigmented complex, protein pigment complex. It is present in use. Second complex is known as light harvesting complex. Now, the light harvesting complex, it is also known as antenna complex. The role of light harvesting complex is to absorb the specific wavelength of light. That means if it is present in pigment system first, they absorb only 700 nanometer of light, and if it is present in pigment system second, they absorb 680 nanometer from the electromagnetic spectrum. Visible light in between 380 to 780 nanometer, right? They absorb only either 700 nanometer of light or 680 nanometer. Absorption of light occurs, that means solar energy or photon is absorbed by the antenna complex, and antenna complex hand over the absorbed energy to core complex. And now core complex having the reaction chamber, and the core complex hand over the energy towards the reaction center for further process. Third complex is known as cytochrome B6F complex. It is also known as mediator in between pigment system first and pigment, and it is the plastocyanin plastoquinone oxidase activities. And fourth complex is known as ATPase complex. It contains F1 and C factors. Both are involved in the process of formation of ATP by ADP and inorganic phosphate. Where the actual ATPs are synthesized, it is known as ATPase complex. All four complexes are present in pigment system first and pigment system second. Students see the picture, cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Now we are going to learn first non-cyclic photophosphorylation. What happens during the non-cyclic photophosphorylation? During both cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylation, you remember that only and only formation of through the cyclic and non-cyclic photo, and this formed ATP are utilized for the conversion of CO2 to carbon carbohydrates during dark phase of photosynthesis. Now, in non-cyclic photophosphorylation, what happens? It contained pigment system first and pigment system second. Both the pigment system are present. Now, pigment system second having the 680 nanometer of light they absorb. After absorption of light by the antenna complex, the absorbed light transferred towards the core complex. Core complex taken this radiant energy and sent towards the reaction center. Reaction center is controlling the complete activity, and now reaction center control 40 to 60 number of chlorophyll molecules. That means number of groups of chlorophyll molecules are present in a one reaction center control 40 to 60 number of chlorophyll molecules. And now this reaction center decide to hand over this absorbed radiant energy to one chlorophyll molecule. After selection of chlorophyll molecules, again this reaction center select the one electrons out of two, because each and every chlorophyll molecules having two electrons on its outer orbit, they are moving opposite direction. After selection of one electrons, now these electrons taken this radiant energy and goes towards the phosphatin. That means excitation of electron molecule from ground state to excited state. That means the electrons taking lot of solar energy, radiant energy, and moves towards the distribution of this by this cyclic and non-cyclic process. Now, the excited electron moves towards the pheophytin, and pheophytin hand over these electrons toward the QA. QA is quinine, unknown primary electron acceptor. QA hand over the electrons toward the QB. QB is the secondary unknown electron acceptor. And now QB hand over the electrons towards the plastoquinone. Now what happens? Plastoquinone taking protons from the outside the pool and two electrons from QB. And now this plastoquinone hand over the two protons and two electrons to plastohydroquinone. And now this plastohydroquinone only pass the electrons toward the cytochrome F, and protons are released inner side of this membrane. Now the electrons are moving towards the cytochrome F and then plastocyanin. Plastocyanin is the copper containing pigment protein. It is the mediator between pigment system second and pigment system. Now what happens? Side by side, one electron is excited and it moves towards the pheophytin. Side by side, photooxidation, that means breakdown of water molecules, occurs during the process of non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Now, two water molecules are breakdown and formation of protons and electrons, releases of oxygen, and some amount of electrons are formed during the breakdown of water molecule. And now these electrons are moves towards the reaction center by Z scheme. Z scheme is an unknown scheme. It is a type of amino acid, tyrosine. And now the electrons moves towards the excitation state. The plastocyanin hand over the electron towards the pigment system, and in pigment system first, same light harvesting complex absorb 700 nanometer of light, hand over the absorbed light towards the core complex hand over the radiant energy towards reactions, and reactions again decide chlorophyll molecule take and excite one electron. Now these electrons are excited and it moves towards the reduction reducing substances. Then it moves towards the A1, A2, and A3 are the primary, secondary, and tertiary electron acceptors during the non-cyclic photophosphorylation. And the electron moves towards the ferredoxine, where the NAD is reduced into NAD. Formation of one NAD2 molecule occurs. And now, during the journey, the electrons moves from plastoquinone to cytochrome F. Some amount of energy release, and now this release energy captured by ADP, adenosine diphosphate, and inorganic phosphate. It is already present in, and it is converted into ATP. But ATPs are synthesized in ATPase complex, which is present within and below the membrane. Now, during non-cyclic photophosphorylation, one ATP molecules and one NADP2 molecules are synthesized. Both pigment systems involved, first as well as pigment system. Now, students, we are going to learn cyclic photophosphorylation. In cyclic photophosphorylation, only one pigment system is involved. Pigment system first. Its reaction chapter is P700. That means they absorb the 700 nanometer of light from this electromagnetic visible light. That means 380 to 780 nanometer light. They absorb only 700 nanometer. Antenna complex absorbs 700 nanometer of light, then transfer towards core complex reaction center. Reaction center select one chlorophyll molecules and one electrons out of two of its outer orbit. Now this electrons taking this solar energy and it moves towards the uh, ferroelectric reducing substances. And now ferroelectric reducing substances is unable to hand over the electrons towards the A1, A2, and A2. That means primary, secondary, and electron. And the electrons, excited electron, goes towards cytochrome B6. And now this cytochrome base hand over the electrons towards the blastoquinone, blastohead, blastocyte. In between cytochrome B6 and blastoquinone, some amount of energy released by the electrons and first ATP form. Second, blastoquinone to cytochrome F, again some amount of energy released. Second ATP form during this blastoquinone and cytochrome F, and energyless electrons moves toward its own chlorophyll. The molecules are released from the chlorophyll and they hand over the energy in different places. That means release of some amount of energy in various places. And energyless electrons moves towards one center. That's why this process is cyclic. So students, through cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylation, ATP and NADP molecules are synthesized in presence of light. That means during daytime, formation of a number of ATPs and NADPs2 molecules are formed during daytime by cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylation. And the formation of ATP is known as photophosphorylation. That means in presence of light, ATPs are synthesized and all process that means process of ATP and NADP light reaction. This is the first mechanism of synthesis. And now the light independent reaction. It is also known as dark reaction, thermochemical reaction, Blackman's reaction, or path of carbon. That means formation of carbohydrates are the different names of dark reactions. It is further classified on the basis of type of plants. Which plants occurs the formation of carbohydrates? There are three different groups: C3 plants, C4 plants, and crassulacean acid metabolism. C3 plants having the Calvin cycle, C4 plants having the Hatch and Slack cycle, and crassulacean acid metabolism having crassulacean acid metabolism. Now we are going to learn one by one. First, we are going to learn the C3 cycle. It is known as Kelvin cycle. Kelvin cycle, Melvin Kelvin, Andrew Benson, and James Basson worked on C3 cycle at University of California from 1946 1953. For his great work, Kelvin awarded the Nobel Prize in 1960 for the formation of or complete study of this C3 cycle. The Kelvin cycle is organized in three basic categories or three basic stages. One is fixation, a reduction, and a region. Fixation means carbon dioxide enter into the leaves and it is converted into 3-phosphoglyceric acid. It is known as the fixation process. Reduction means 3-phosphoglyceric acid is converted into fructose 6-phosphate. It is known as the reduction phase. And regeneration means from fructose 6-phosphate again formation of ribulose 1,5 diphosphate. It is known as a regeneration. Complete cycle is divided into three phases or three stages: fixation, reduction, and regeneration. In this cycle, the ribulose 1,5 diphosphate It is present in leaf. Now, these six number of ribulose 1,5 diphosphate comes together to form a group, and each molecule is having 5 carbon compound. That means 30 carbon compound comes together, 6 into 5, 6 molecules of ribulose 1,5 diphosphate, 5 carbon compound, 30 compound comes together. And during stomata open, atmospheric carbon dioxide enter into the leaf. 6 number of carbon dioxide combined with this 30 carbon compound. That means ribulose 1,5 diphosphate, and 6 number of water molecules are also combined. Water is already present in leaf. It comes through root from soil. 6 CO2, 6 H2O, and this 30 carbon compound. That means 5 carbon compound, ribulose 1,5 diphosphate, combined to form 12 molecules of 3 carbon compound, 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde or 3-phosphoglyceric acid. Now, these 12 molecules of 3 carbon compound, it is the stable compound. That's why the cycle is known as. Now, this 3-phosphoglyceric acid is converted into 1,3-diphosphoglyceric acid by utilization of 12 number of ATPs. How these ATPs, which is utilized in between phosphoglyceric 1,3-diphosphoglyceric acid, which is synthesized during light phase of photosynthesis. That means cyclic and non-cyclic. 1,3-diphosphoglyceric acid is converted into phosphoglyceraldehyde. It is also 12 molecules of 3 carbon compound. Now, 12 molecules of NADPH2 molecules are utilized for conversion of 1,3-diphosphoglyceric acid to phosphoglyceraldehyde. After formation of 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde, 12 molecules of 3 carbon compound, which is distributed into 4 groups. First group having 2 molecules of 3 carbon compound, 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde. Second, 2 molecules of 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde. Third, 3 molecules of 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde. And fourth group is 5 molecules of 3 carbon compound glyceraldehyde. Now, this fourth group, 5 molecules, is known as dihydroxyacetone phosphate, which is again distributed into 2 groups. First group having 3 molecules, 2 molecules. Now, the first group of 3 molecules of dihydroxyacetone phosphate and the third group of 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde, 3 molecules, 6 molecules, each molecule is having 3 carbon compound. That means 6 into 3, 18 carbon compound comes to form fructose 1,6 diphosphate. It is 3 molecules of 6 carbon compound. Now, this fructose 1,6 diphosphate is converted into fructose 6 phosphate, 3 molecules of carbon compound. Again, 3 molecules of water utilized during the conversion of fructose diphosphate to fructose 6 phosphate. So, student, formation of fructose 6 phosphate, what is known as the reduction phase. And now the 3 molecules of fructose phosphate form. Out of 3, 1 molecules goes as a reserve food material for day-to-day activities of plants, and remaining 2 molecules enter into regeneration phase. That means cyclic process. 2 molecules of 6 carbon compound means 12 carbon compound combined with 2 molecules of 3 carbon compound, 3 glyceraldehyde, second group. 3 into 2, 6 carbon compound, and 6 into 2, 12 carbon compound, 12 plus 18 carbon compound to form cellulose 5-phosphate, 2 molecules of 5 carbon compound. and erythrose 4-phosphate 2 molecules. Erythrose 4-phosphate 2 molecules are combined with remaining 2 molecules of dihydrogen. That means 8 carbon compound combined with 6 carbon compound. 14 carbon compound comes together to form sedotylase 1,7 diphosphate with the help of enzyme aldolase. Two molecules of 7 carbon compound sedotylase 1 diphosphate converted into phosphate. Again, two water molecules are utilized. And now sedotylase 7 phosphate 2 molecules of 7 carbon compound, that means 14 carbon compound, combined with the remaining 2 molecules of 3 carbon compound 3 phosphoglyceraldehyde, that means 14 carbon compound combined with 6 carbon compound, total 20 carbon compound come together to form again cellulose 5 phosphate 2 of 5 carbon compound and ribulose 2 molecules of 5 carbon compound. So student, first formed 2 molecules of xylulose and now presently form 2 molecules of cellulose, 2 to 4 xylulose, each xylulose having 5 carbon compound, and 2 molecules of ribose 5 carbon compound. That means 6 molecules of 5 carbon compound comes together to form ribulose 5 phosphate. And now this ribulose 5 phosphate is again converted into, or again regeneration, ribulose 1,5 diphosphate by utilization of 6 number of ATP molecules synthesized during the light phase of. That means formation of one glucose molecule. 11 number of water molecules, 6 number of carbon dioxide, and 12 number of 18 number of ATP and 12 number of NADP required for the formation of one molecule. That means C6H12O6. Now, this is the cyclic process. Again, formed ribulose 1,5 diphosphate is taking atmospheric 6O2 cyclic process, formation of again fructose 6 phosphate. Out of 3, 1 goes towards the food, day-to-day activity of plants and are participated cyclic process. This is the continuous process about 24 because there is light. That's why dark phase is no light independent. Thank you.